Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Da, da, da.
Thank you. Ha, 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 I like to swim.
Do you speak whale?
Oh, sorry. Let me try that again. No,
I don't speak whale. Well, I wish I could speak whale. Okay,
Stop. I already can't focus. We can't keep doing this to me.
P. Sherman, 42 Wally Way, Sydney.
Stop.
Mine.
Give me some skin.
Mine.
Give me some fin.
Mine.
No, give me some noggin.
Mine.
Mine.
Hey. Stop. Look, the sun is shining, the tank is clean, and we are getting out.
The tank is clean.
Pop Bears beats Battlestar.
Stay on target.
You can't handle the truth.
Stay on target.
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
With great power comes great responsibility.
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That's right, Captain America. There's only one God, ma'am. That's what's up. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Connor.
I'm Jake.
I'm Jordan Summers, and just by knowing me, you get a +5 bonus to all charisma checks.
Wow. Excellent.
What's that stat coming from? Is that awesome jacket?
No, it's just by knowing me.
Is it the jacket of charisma?
Well, yes.
This is Jordan's personality. This is very charismatic. Well, welcome to Pop
Definitely not Episcopalian.
Are you pescatarian?
That means you only eat fish.
It does.
I'm a Prolecurian. That's not true. I'm a Promethean.
We are Pop Culture Redemption, and we are recording this episode starting at 9:45 p.m.
It's great.
So we are about to be a little
My meds have
scatterbrained.
definitely worn off by now, guys.
But hey, this is going to be fun. Again, we're a show, podcast, hoping to help the church. Help.
You want to try that again?
Oh my gosh.
Help! I
Help.
need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help!
Na-na-na-na-na. We are
Amazing.
a podcast helping the church have a better vision about God's presence and work in popular culture.
Hey!
And I can speak English now. Oh,
Comprehend languages.
You know
Or
what
tongues.
today is?
Actually, it would be tongues.
What?
Tongues.
Oh, I don't have that gift, I don't think.
No. It's
No,
Interpreting
you
tongues?
you
It's a
can't
spell.
speak it unless
It's-
somebody has an interpreter.
It's a spell in D&D. You cast tongues on somebody, and then they're able to speak.
Does that just mean you lick them?
Nice. It's a pretty good lick.
I don't think that's. I mean, you, for no pun intended, flavor text or like for flavor. Yeah, you could.
Is it a flavor check? Do you roll for flavor check?
All right, the
That would be
flavor of this
perception.
episode is chaos. But today, you know what today
very
is?
fitting.
You know what today is?
Hump
When
day?
when this episode
Mike.
when this episode release, do you know what today is? Do you know what today? Today is our 20th episode.
Hey! Which is why we've got a D20 right
That's
here.
right. It's our 20th episode,
We definitely planned that.
and we are
This is so
can't get our
anticlimactic.
D20 dice out.
All right, I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll the
Oh, you're
die,
gonna roll.
and then whatever it is, you guys have to guess what, or you have to try to remember what that podcast was.
Oh, what is it?
Oh, that's
19.
Do it again.
go first.
Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
I think that was the
12.
shoot. That was Taylor Swift.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
No, wait.
Swift's
Thanksgiving's
giving.
11. I think you're right. I think it's just the Taylor Swift
Eras Tour.
Yep.
Boom.
Well done.
Very good.
Jake wins again. All right.
Always.
Some housekeeping as we start today. Again, please follow the show on Instagram, Facebook if you have not already.
And YouTube.
And YouTube, of course. Find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts at. If you could follow us there, rate, review, it would be really helpful for us. We are still in the month of January. This is our last episode being aired in January, and we have this goal that we've been talking about: 10 shirts in January, and
Or hoodies.
shirts, hoodies,
Or
crew
crew
necks. We are a few shirts short at this point. So if that's something that you want to help support the show, again, it reps the brand, one, which we really appreciate as we're trying
It's
to
a pretty
grow
cool brand.
the podcast. But two, if you really resonate with the mission of the show, again, to help the church have better conversation about God moving and working in pop culture, if you want to support us and see the show grow, this is one way that you can tangibly do that, is by buying a shirt, because part of each sale of those shirts we get a piece of, and we will reinvest that back in the show moving forward. So it helps rep the brand a little bit, helps support us a little bit, and it helps us be able to grow the show. So
absolutely,
if that's something that you can do, that
them
would be really
shirts
helpful.
are comfy.
They're nice. They're nice. I'm repping one today. Jake's repping one.
One of the hoodies.
Better be
which
repping.
is very, very soft, Jordan.
We do have other colors other than gray.
You can't see mine?
No.
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
Because I'm wearing a changing chainmail shirt. So this is actually a Pop CR shirt. It'll cost you 10,000 gold pieces to afford a corner of this shirt, but it can also transform into other things. And it's cold tonight, so I'm wearing the jacket.
And if you haven't already noticed, we are in Jordan's element today. We are reviewing the movie Dungeons and Dragons.
He is giving us credibility
Among
for this
Thieves.
episode.
Absolutely. And so just a promo to intro this movie real quick before we turn it over to Jordan for a special segment. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. This movie's on Amazon Prime right now. It's free to watch there. It was released on March 31st of 2023, this past year. It had a box office of $210 million worldwide, which ended up being number 26 in 2023. So it was out there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it had a cast that had people in it that I recognized.
Chris Pine.
That's good. Chris Pine, yep, played Edgin.
What about Chris Cedar?
Edgin? What was his name?
Edgin,
the Harper. Or the ex-Harper, I guess.
mean the
Michelle
bard?
Rodriguez played Holga.
You mean the warrior? Is that the type?
Barbarian.
She was a barbarian.
Holga the Barbarian. Justice Smith played Simon the Sorcerer. Sophia Lillis was Doric.
Wow, what a Doric.
Doric the Druid. Hugh Grant. I know Hugh Grant. Played Forge. And Bradley Cooper briefly cameoed in this movie. As
Who's Bradley Cooper?
Marleman. What? Have you seen Silver Linings Playbook?
No.
Have you seen The A-Team?
No.
Have you seen... Oh, what's that? Burnt? Is it Burnt? Where he's a chef?
No.
Have you seen the B movie?
Yes.
Okay,
Wait, what?
I don't think he's in that.
That's an animated movie. I'm trying to think. Have you seen Limitless?
No.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Dude, it's like Tom Cruise. The only Tom Cruise movie I've seen was Top Gun Maverick.
If you saw a
Like-
picture of him, you would be like,
Well, yeah.
"Oh, okay."
Yeah, because he's Marleman.
yeah. The
He didn't look familiar at all to me.
wow. Okay. Sounds
And
good.
you asked me to do a pop culture podcast.
He's in what's the not it's not A Star Is Born. Yeah, no, it's a Star
I've
A
never
Star Is
seen
Born with Lady Gaga. Anyways,
That's
That's the movie we're looking at
is
today.
already derailed, much like most D&D campaigns.
it's a side quest. So I'm going to turn it over now. We've kind of introed the movie. The movie is based on the game Dungeons and Dragons, and it's probably so much more than a game. But I'm going to turn it over.
What's Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jacob, because I'm going to turn it over to our dungeon master, Jordan Summers here, and he's going to take us on a little adventure.
Dungeon Master.
That we're going to call Dungeons and Dragons for Dummies.
know her.
So if you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, Jordan's going to help you. Take it away, Jordan.
Okay, so D&D or Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game. You can just figure out what that means just by listening to those words again slowly, okay? Tabletop role-playing game. There's a tabletop, and you each play a different role in the game. Okay, it's published by a game publishing company called Wizards of the Coast. It's a fantasy setting. Much of the setting was derived from Tolkien's work.
That's not surprising at all.
No. Not at all.
Did Tolkien just invent the genre of fantasy?
Basically, sort of. I mean, sort of. A lot of it was taken. I mean, a lot of it was also taken from folklore and old, tons of centaurs and stuff like that. A lot of different mythologies, but a lot of it was taken from Tolkien's work. To play D&D, it's basically a group storytelling session. You have the DM, the dungeon master, as Connor referred to me as the dungeon master. You have the dungeon master that is in charge of setting the scene, telling you here's where you are, and the dungeon master controls all the NPCs, the non-player characters, and he creates the world and is the thing that responds to what the players do. So when the players go somewhere, he's the one that lets them or doesn't let them go somewhere. When the players talk to an NPC, when they talk to the barmaid or the shop owner or the evil orc or something, they're talking to the DM, and the DM is responding as all of those characters. Then, speaking of characters, you have the party. You have all these different roles that people can play, whether it's a barbarian, like we see Helga is a barbarian, we see the druids, we see sorcerers, warlocks, and different versions of D&D, different editions of D&D have different classes you can play and different races. You know, you see humans and dwarves and half-elves.
Cockroaches. Isn't that the bird people? No?
I'm a bird plane.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm.
Is that the name?
If it is, I like my campaigns haven't bumped into them except maybe one.
Okay.
I think there's one character that is a bird person.
I
but
almost
I'm not
played
sure.
one in the campaign.
I don't think he. So everybody creates their own character and then takes that character and interacts in the world with that character. You decide on things that happen. You say, okay, I want to try to do this thing, and you roll dice to determine, do you actually succeed in doing that thing you're trying to do? And that dice roll, so I rolled a 19 just now on this D20.
Dang, son.
What can I say? I'm a professional. Yeah, you are. I'm really not. I had, in one of my campaigns, I had advantage on death saves, and I still died. While I was dead. I was
Nice.
dead trying to come back to life, and I died while I was dead trying to come back to life, and I had advantage on death saves.
That's
because I am
amazing.
so bad.
You
so
should
bad
just
at
steal Connor's dice set because they seem to like you.
Watch, the next thing I'm going to roll is going to be a 1. Anyway. That would be so funny if it was. Anyway. So everybody is going into this group exercise of like, you're trying to place yourself into the world, into the character, and explore the world. And go off on this crazy adventure that is pioneered and shaped mainly by the DM, but also by what the players do and interact with in that world. So that's D&D in a nutshell.
So
Yeah.
would it be fair, like, because the only one I was a part of was a homebrew, which means that they don't go with the lore that's written in the books and they just kind of do it on their own, make up their own stuff. Would the community episodes actually be a good description of like how D&D works? Like the episodes where they'd play D&D in the community show?
You grossly overestimate how much community I've seen.
Oh, dang.
I've seen like 2 episodes.
Oh, I thought you've seen
in
more.
passing while other people are
You might
watching
enjoy.
them.
They have 2 episodes
I know.
where they do D&D.
I have enjoyed D&D. I have enjoyed community.
Okay, well, then I need you to watch those episodes and let me know if they're accurate.
Possibly can't
Okay.
do. But
Yeah,
eventually.
and part of the beauty in my limited experience with D&D is that it is so much built on your own imagination and how you are interacting with this world that the dungeon master sets up for sure.
Yep.
But that you get to explore and the dungeon master's kind of creating as they're taking you through this game, and they're setting up situations and characters and different things. It's really fun to be able to, with a group of people, kind of walk through this world together, that you kind of understand a little bit of it. The more you understand the lore of it and things, the more of the larger your vision is for what it is or what it can be. But it's really built on imagination.
Yeah.
And and you get to create. You're not just, a lot of board games, right? The world is set and you're trying to get through it type of deal. Whereas in Dungeons and Dragons, the world is very much not set in stone.
You design it yourself.
Right. You're like walking into a fog, and as you're walking through it, you're figuring out new pieces and new parts of the story and new things that you can do. And hey, I want to look over there and go explore over this place, or I want to go do that, or I want to go fight that person, or I want to go ask that person a question, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so
Well, even how you're going about those things, you can be really creative. The very first time I played D&D, and like I had no context, no experience, had no idea, but I knew that you could basically do whatever you wanted. If you've played Skyrim, imagine you could play Skyrim, but you are the mods. Like you, instead of adding in the mods,
Thank you.
just
That
get to be
actually
the
helps
mods.
explain so much.
But the DM is the game engine that gets to say whether or not the game crashes.
right.
Anyway,
And if he gets so mad, can just kill the entire party.
well, there's that too. But anyway, the first time I played D&D, we were in this, like there was this pit, and we were trying to avoid falling in this pit, but then there were a bunch of zombies, I think there's some version of the undead, and I had a ladder with me because apparently you can just carry a ladder in your back pocket, because I had the weight capacity, and I'm a dwarf, so I'm like kind of short, so I'm just carrying around this 10-foot ladder in my back pocket.
Of course you would. You're a dwarf.
Yeah. So I had this, and I'm like, can I hit them with the ladder? And my DM's like, yeah, I guess so. He let me do it, and I rolled, and the ladder went, and it hit one, and then it like got rung around his neck, and then that undead and the one behind him fell into a pit because he fell down, and the ladder caught the other one. So I killed two
Nice.
undead with
Nice.
one ladder.
Right. Which that's something that the DM is like narrating to you,
Right.
as a result. So it's very, very much creating.
I do have one question that was like, I was just curious and I wanted to ask you, Jordan, from the movie. Do bards have a lower carrying capacity? Or was that just Chris Pine's character's choice to, like, every time he was handed something, he just went to Simon the Sorcerer and was like, here, take this.
Well, there's a good chance that depending on how you build your bard, if your bard does not have a lot of strength, which usually unless you have like a battle barbarian is the thing you can do.
Oh yeah, you just cast Vicious Mockery. I was really hoping
there's that
at
too.
one point in the movie he would just insult one of the enemies and they would die. Because that's what Vicious Mockery does.
It causes psychic damage, yes. But
I was just really hoping that he'd yell at the stone dragon and then the stone dragon would die.
But bards, if they're built in a way that they don't have a lot of strength, which the majority of them are, then yeah, they're probably going to have a lower carrying capacity. So that is entirely... There's actually a lot of small details in this. So it's like, oh, that actually makes
The
sense.
one campaign I did as a bard. So like I kind of remembered that.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see if that was accurate.
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite thing. Protect this with your life. Here, carry this.
Okay, so that's the setup for this movie. That's the world and the context that this movie is coming out of or trying to depict as it's going through, as we meet these different characters, right? The bard and the barbarian and the druid,
Sorcerer,
and the sorcerer, right? And these different characters are ones that are very much out of the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Hence the name Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. So let's jump in. Here's Rejoice. What was good?
Can I rejoice in not body shaming, or not? I should save that for the reject. Body shaming a fat dragon. But they always show really muscular dragons, and I feel like other fat dragons will feel represented in this movie. But in all seriousness. Sorry, I didn't mean to immediately break the show. That seems to be my role this episode. I just get to be the agent of chaos. No, one thing I really enjoy about
you are
D&D,
a wild magic druid.
yes, one thing I really enjoy about D&D is that it spreads the awareness that everybody has a backstory.
Yeah,
just knowing even your enemies, even like it may not justify their actions. But we can't just demonize people into just treating them like their opinions or the way that they are opposing us. Like, I love that D&D raises that awareness. Everybody's got a story. Everybody has a reason why they do what they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's yep.
Got real serious real fast.
It was good.
Yeah, in the different redemption arcs, specifically I think for the Simon the Sorcerer and for obviously Edgin, the Baird or the Bard or the Harper,
Baird.
the Baird, I think are pretty important to the story too.
Yeah.
So their growth and their development throughout the movie is important.
Yeah.
You got something, Jordan?
Yeah. I rejoice that D&D can be a great bonding experience. It can create a consistent rhythm of socializing with friends and a strong exercise of imagination. Players, often like their characters, have the potential to form bonds with each other as they overcome challenges and adversities in the game and experience the story together. As the party unites and overcomes their differences, so do the players.
Like that.
Yeah. What you see in the movie as well.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Also diversity. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Diverse City.
Which is
My
also
favorite
really
Toby
cool.
Mac campaign.
One of his best albums, besides Portable Sounds.
For sure.
So good.
I'm trying to think of all the songs on Diversity. So good.
Whoopsie daisy.
I want to rejoice the depiction of suffering.
Ooh.
Oh.
Where are we going?
And how it transforms us, both for the better and for the worse. So, I am bringing a book to the show this week.
Who is it?
It's John Mark Comer's daddy. What's this guy's name?
His
John
mentor.
Ortberg. Sorry, I forgot for a second. John Ortberg.
John and John.
John and John. So this is from John Ortberg's book, The Life You've Always Wanted, which I completed this week. And so I have a couple different thoughts out of this book as part of today's episode. So here we go. He talks about, I'll just pick up where he says. It says, so if we are going to be transformed, we must look at how suffering benefits us, or at least how we respond to it. So he says, suffering always changes us, but it does not necessarily change us for the better. In his book, A Grace Disguised, Gerald Sitzer, who lost his wife, his mother, and a daughter in a head-on collision, poignantly writes of the struggle to make sense of tragedy. Loss creates a barren present, as if one were sailing on a vast sea of nothingness. Those who suffer loss live suspended between a past for which they long and a future for which they hope. They want to return to the harbor of the familiar past and recover what was lost, or they want to sail on and discover a meaningful future that promises to bring them life again. And instead, they often find themselves living in a barren present that is empty of meaning. Which doesn't sound like a rejoice point, but we'll get there. So I want to specifically look at the character of Edgin in both his good response to suffering and his bad response to suffering. And I want to rejoice how this is depicted within the context of the movie. So the bad response to suffering, right? At the loss of his wife at the beginning of the movie, he responds by forsaking his oath, his Harper oath.
Not
right?
good.
And joining a life of thievery, including bringing his own daughter into it.
Also not good.
Not great. And he risks the well-being of his daughter to try to regain what he once had with his wife.
That's really not good.
Right? He didn't just risk his life, but he risked his daughter growing up without a father because he so longed for the thing that he had lost, or the person that he had lost. And that would be not a great response to suffering. Later in the movie, a good response to suffering, right? When Holga is slain with the red blade at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And Edgin must make an impossible decision because he has the tablet of reawakening. So the tablet of reawakening can bring back someone who has died. And he realizes in that moment and decides to not look to his own interest, but also to that of his daughter, right? He looks at his daughter's life through the eyes of his daughter and realized that Holga was more of a mother to her, right, than obviously his wife who passed away and did not have the opportunity to raise their daughter. And it made that choice. It's the wisdom that suffering had brought him. He's able to realize the choice to be made, which is to bring back Holga, to choose Holga. And this doesn't mean that he stops yearning for his wife, right? But he no longer lets that yearning drive his every decision and motivation like it had at the beginning of the movie. And I think it's important for us to remember too, in Romans talks about suffering. It says we also glory in suffering because we know suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope, and hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. So I think, again, I rejoice not necessarily in suffering, although it says glory in our sufferings. I'm not like rejoicing that suffering is a thing, but I'm saying that I rejoice how the movie depicted it and the role that it plays throughout the movie and how it depicts specifically Edgin responding to it. And I think as believers, we have to remember that we must remain faithful in our suffering. That's how we suffer well, is when we remain faithful to God. We remain faithful to His commands, and when we suffer poorly, it's when we stray from Him, when we turn away from Him in our suffering. It's when we don't still do those things even when they're really hard, which is what Edgin does early on in the movie. So, for me, that was a really resonating thing that jumped out.
Yeah.
And this is how we press on.
Yeah.
So,
well, that just reminds me of 1 Peter, where it says, "So be truly glad. There's wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold. That your faith is far more precious than mere gold. So when your faith remains strong through many trials, it will bring you much praise and glory and honor on the day when Jesus Christ is revealed to the whole world."
Yep. Nailed it. All right, let's move on to the reject. And we already forgot we were going to do the thing, and I already forgot it. So now we're going to do the thing.
We're going to do the thing.
We're going to roll. We're going to roll the die.
We're going to roll initiative.
Roll initiative. See who goes first.
20.
Nat
You roll a
20.
20? Wait, does that mean you go
Nat
first
20.
or last?
That would be
No,
first.
You go first? Okay.
Let's find out who goes second.
What'd you
9.
That was a
9.
9.
Well, I'm a notoriously terrible.
Oh, yeah. No, I've won many a game to you due to your bad rolling.
It continues.
4.
I got a 4. I'm going last. All right, Jordan.
All right,
Well-
Jordan, that nat 20 better be
I
a good
reject
reject.
that roll. I reject that roll.
It's a shame you didn't have advantage.
I know.
Wait,
Okay.
I'm wearing a hoodie. Does that give me better armor than Connor?
No, because it's still light armor.
Oh, dang it.
Firepower.
Okay, I reject the use of imagination, creativity, and the arts for fantasy fulfillment.
Ooh.
It's a temptation with D&D and anywhere we engage in creativity. Forge used his creativity for selfishness. Sophina, the red sorceress, also used Forge's creativity, and she used Forge's creativity for evil. And so it's also possible to use somebody else's creativity for our own own fulfillments, or our own, evil things or dark or wrong things. And it's entirely impossible to use our own imagination and creative ability for selfish, evil things. In fact, we probably all do it more often than any of us would care to admit or are even aware of.
So true.
Sheesh.
It's like the joy and the hard part about as you just discipleship and growing in your faith, and because you realize the more you walk with Jesus, how broken you really are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a new layer in the onion. You're like, oh, that's a bummer. But once I move through that one, then I'll be like way better than I was before. And then we just get a deeper layer of how broken we are. And not as a discouragement, but as a recognition, one of how much we need Jesus.
Mm.
And it is a process of the sanctification, of becoming holier, right? Is to get deeper and deeper and realize, oh, take this heart of stone and make it a heart of flesh. So, yes.
Wait, Jordan. So you're saying that good things can be used for bad things?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Well,
But I'm sure that nobody weaponizes scripture.
Never. That's never happened.
just as D&D rules can be weaponized against players, yes, too, scripture can be weaponized against
Well, because
image bearers.
You're taking creativity, right? We're all made in God's image. All of us are creative. Some of us may be creative in the artistic realm, but if you
Some of us are creative in making kids.
No, that's called reproductive.
It's called procreative.
Creative is still in the word.
But
It
like,
is in the word.
I mean, if you find a creative solution in your job at work, that's creative. Some people may be artistic, but we are made to create because we are made in the image of a creator. We're the only beings in this world that can create things. Like, yeah, monkeys can make tools. But we are the only beings that can take something that could be and bring it into reality. I'm sure nobody would do anything wrong with that.
Just peg you with a die. Yeah.
Sorry, I guess that's just the energy I'm bringing here
All right,
tonight.
No, it's
Jacob with your
My 9.
9.
That's a very me roll.
Oh,
like,
yes,
not
yes,
good,
yes.
but not terrible. It's fine. No, my whole thing was like, I kind of said a little bit about this in the last episode. When we get stuck in the past, you miss out on what's happened since then, right? So Ed's entire thing of trying to bring back his wife and get his family back together, he failed to recognize the family that he found along the way. And I didn't even notice this until like we got to the end, but then I remembered what was the actor I didn't remember? Bradley who?
Cooper.
Yeah.
Cooper, yeah.
He says a line in it that's just like, wow. Because he said to Holga, I found my new family, and I hope you find yours too. Like, Ed didn't see that because he's too busy trying to fix something from the past. I think the call that we have and the assurance that we have as we walk with Jesus is that we can trust God with past and future. That's what he says. He says that tomorrow has enough worries of its own. Like, just live here to, like, all of Jesus's teachings were to bring, we're calling people to live in the present, right? All of his, most of his teachings about the kingdom of heaven were people giving immediate action towards things, to do things today, to trust God with tomorrow, right? So you have the guy that finds the treasure in the field. So what does he do? He doesn't just wait for it to go up for sale. He goes and he sells everything he has in that moment and buys the field because he knows what will come and he trusts that will come. All of Jesus' teachings on kingdom of heaven, all that he said is repent and turn near. Now, the kingdom of heaven is near. It's here. It's today. We have to trust that today is all we have. Yesterday's gone. Can't do anything about it. Trust that God, I mean, we can't get rid of the consequences, but we got to trust that God is going to be faithful. And we can't fix tomorrow because we don't even know what's going to happen. But when you focus so hard on trying to fix something that's already happened, like Ed, you miss the beautiful things that can happen since then.
Heard the phrase, when you look so longingly at the door that's been closed, you miss the door that is open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He found a great new family. And he didn't even realize, like, what did he say the first time he saw Kira, right? I'm trying to bring your mother back. That wasn't her mother.
Yeah.
Not really. It was Holga. He was so blinded by the fact that he was still stuck in the past of trying to bring back the life that he once had. He didn't realize that that's not the mother that Kira got.
Right. All right, me with my number 4 roll.
Wow. At least it wasn't a 1.
It's true. That would be more on brand. I want to reject the end justifying the means.
Oof.
So early on, Edgin says, what separates you from what you've always wanted can be as thin as a pane of glass, as a reason to enter into a life of thievery. Yeah. Crime, heist. We don't kill anybody. We don't hurt people, so it's okay. But we just steal, you know?
I think they ended up killing some people towards the end.
Yeah. So
But you know who
again,
they didn't kill?
again, the ends.
Wait.
It's the end justifies the means, right? Which means wrong or unfair methods may be used if the overall goal is good, right? So, in case you're wondering, this is not biblical, and it's not true.
It isn't?
It isn't. It is not.
But I thought the Bible says that God only helps those who help themselves.
Yeah.
It doesn't, by the way.
It doesn't, by the way. I think we see this a lot everywhere, but specifically in our political discourse. Right?
Ooh. We're going there.
Yeah, we're going there. It's on both sides. It's not just one side. It's like, yeah, this person did that, but like I'm voting for them because they're going to ultimately do this. And it doesn't matter what they did or how they did it, but it's the what they're going to do or what the end is. So I'm going to ignore, or I'm going to justify, or I'm going to ignore the means, what has already happened or what they're going to do to get to where I want them to go.
We're going to ignore Trump's Twitter page.
It's on, like I said, it's on both sides. I want to affirm that it's a both.
Yes.
It's a both sides of the thing.
Absolutely.
And I remember a long time ago, I heard this sermon where this guy was preaching on the story of David and Saul, specifically when David has been anointed as the next king, but he's not king yet, and Saul is like hunting him and trying to kill him, all over the place, searching for him. And so we pick up in 1 Samuel 24 when Saul goes into the cave to relieve himself while he's trying to find David and kill him. He goes in to relieve himself, doesn't realize that David and David's men are in there. And David's men are like, hey, this is the opportunity you have to kill Saul and become king.
So awkward.
Right? Yeah. And so David sneaks up, and instead of killing Saul, he cuts off a corner of his robe or whatever he's wearing. I don't remember, cloak or something. Saul still doesn't realize David's in the cave. Saul leaves the cave. And David, pick up in verse 5 afterward, David was conscience-stricken for having cut off a corner of his robe. So he's conscience-stricken because he cut off his robe.
He's going to have to make a new one.
And so he said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lay a hand on him, for he is the anointed of the Lord. And with these words, David sharply rebuked his men and did not allow them to attack Saul. And Saul left the cave and went his way. David could have justified the means by saying, hey, the end is that I'm going to be king. So, I'm doing it. I'm going to kill Saul. I'm going to be king.
He's trying to kill me.
And that wasn't what was good. That wasn't the right thing to do. He didn't forsake the right thing to do to get to the end sooner or easier, or quicker or whatever, right? He stayed in the cave. And that was the sermon. The sermon was like, sometimes you got to stay in the cave. Sometimes it's you see the easy way out. That's not the good route that is wrong, but you're so uncomfortable in the cave that you take it and you don't stay in the cave. And sometimes we got to stay in the cave. So I reject the end justifying the means, and just the whole setup to the whole movie, right, where they're trying to justify that these are, that what they're doing is okay. Stealing, it's okay. They don't hurt anybody.
It's
unquote.
okay. It's a family event. I
Right.
brought my daughter
Right.
along.
I brought my daughter. She has a pennant that lets her be invisible.
It's family friendly. I brought my kid.
So stay in the cave. That's my reject.
Thinking to that passage and like the fact that you could get like stabbed and killed while you're relieving yourself gives a whole new meaning to the phrase spray and pray.
What is the original meaning?
It's when you're playing. It's in first-person shooters when you have some sort of assault rifle or machine gun, some sort of rapid-fire weapon, and you just hold down the trigger and hope that you actually kill somebody without having any real skill and aim. Spray and pray.
You mean how I play all video games?
Yeah.
If you ever go into a bathroom and have an instinct to check the stalls just to see if anybody else is in there or not, this is why you have that instinct. Because you could get stabbed. Moving on to Redeem. Let's roll. Let's roll for Redeem.
Okay.
How about you guys two roll and I go last?
Okay, that works.
3.
3.
Watch me. Oh, 14.
14.
This is amazing. I can't believe I beat Jacob in a roll. That never happens. Okay, I get to go first.
We need to play
For
Rebellion
those
again.
of you that are... that's right. Yeah. Jacob's like, don't worry. I'll get you. Okay, so I want to redeem the phrase, or the when Edgin says, I am the champion of failures. We can't stop now, otherwise the failures will be set in stone. Did I steal yours? Oh yes, so glad I rolled higher than you. All right, you can piggyback on this after I get through it. So 2 things from this quote that I want to touch on. One, and then we can use to a bridge point of the gospel. He sees his redemption as his own labor, his own working. Right? He's like, I can't stop because otherwise, like all the failures of my life will be cashed in, and I'll be a failure. Right? So he's kind of like thinking like all these things are going to culminate to like my ultimate success, and then I won't be a failure anymore because then finally I'll be successful, hoping one day to not be a failure and right the wrongs of his life. I just want to name that when we are in Christ, like, because he's talking about things being written on stone, failure being set in stone, the tablet of our sin, the things that have been etched, that we feel like have been etched in stone, is utterly shattered by what was done on the cross. So again, our future starts at the entrance of the empty tomb, like when we're in Christ. So when we're feeling like, when culture is feeling like all of these failures are stacking on top of each other, and I'm a failure, right? I'm not good enough. I'm broken. And all of these things, it can feel hopeless because we've just locked in all these things, especially in like internet, social media, like it's on there forever. You know, you can't outrun what you've done. You couldn't before, but like it seems like it's more evident now. It's not something where you can just move to another town and start over and people don't know who you are and they can't figure out what you've done in your past. Right? That kind of stuff. So in Christ, we are indeed a new creation. In Christ, all those sins, all those failures, brokenness washed away. So that's good news. So I want to take that, redeem it a little bit. The second thing I want to redeem is from that quote is celebrating the endurance of getting back up and pressing on. So there's a really good piece of that I want to celebrate and say, yes, get back up, keep going. Don't stop. When you trip and fall, don't stop going. And I'm bringing it back.
Believing.
Yeah.
While he's looking for that,
Street
Jordan, did you
lights.
also hear like moving to a new town and having to start again? Did you hear Mrs. Puff in your head?
No.
So looking at endurance specifically in life, again, I'm going back to John Ortberg, Out of the Life You've Always Wanted. The start of a race is enjoyable. So he's talking about running a marathon. Starting a marathon, I've never ran a marathon, but according to John Ortberg, the start of a race is enjoyable. It's easy, right? Anybody can start a race.
That's fair.
Finishing is the hard work. To finish well, that's glory. And finishing well is what counts. Perseverance is not a panacea. Boy, I practiced that word and I messed it up. That means solution or remedy, by the way, if you're like, what does that mean? We have limits that the desire to endure alone will not transcend. So we will be both enabled and limited by a host of factors that perseverance alone will not overcome. But any truly meaningful human accomplishment will require perseverance. Gifts, talents, IQ, these are all to some extent beyond our control. Endurance is the gift that we can offer. And spiritual transformation won't happen without it. And then he quotes Hebrews, says, let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us or marked out for us. In the translation, I know, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith. So in other words, just don't quit is how he finishes that statement. And so I want to redeem that is a mindset that culture and that I think we just as human beings gravitate towards. We celebrate that when people get knocked back down and get back up, knocked back down, get back up. Like we celebrate the person that gets back up and keeps going, keep running in the face of adversity, in the face of challenge, that you keep moving, you take another step forward. And let us be reminded and remind those around us that ultimately we want to take those steps forward towards Jesus. When you get knocked back down, when you failed, when you slipped, get back up, take the next step towards Jesus. And then the next step. Because again, it talks about we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses cheering us on. Right? The race marked out for us. So don't quit. Don't give up. Keep going, y'all. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Da, da, da.
Thank you.
I like to swim.
I don't know the rest of the words. Those are probably not even the right words.
Do you speak well?
Sorry. Let me try that again. No.
I don't speak well. Well, I wish I could speak whale. Okay, stop. Sorry, Jacob. I took that in a different direction.
Guys.
Do you want to build on that?
I already can't focus. We can't keep doing this to me.
P. Sherman, 42 all the way, Sydney.
Stop.
Mine.
Give me some skin.
Mine.
Give me some fin.
Mine.
No, give me some noggin.
Mine.
Mine.
Hey. Stop. Look, the sun is shining, the tank is clean, and we are getting out.
The tank is clean. Stop. Okay. Yes, I want to go a different route. Yes. Here's where I went with this. I want a completely different route. We must never stop failing because if we do, we fail. My immediate, like the thing, I don't have much notes, so this is like half baked. So it's gonna be nice and gooey in the center, like a good cookie should be. My note here is our failures are never the end. When we are walking in not in step with Jesus, when we're just trying to get through this life, our failures are all we have. However, we worship a God and we serve a God, we walk with one that repurposes them to take our biggest failures and make them the biggest examples of his grace and love. So I'm reminded of 2 Corinthians 12, where Paul is talking about, his vision and his thorn in his flesh. That's at least what the thing says at the top of the chapter. But he says, that experience is worth boasting about, but I'm not going to do it. I will boast only about my weaknesses. If I wanted to boast, I would be no fool in doing so, because I would be telling the truth. But I won't do it, because I don't want anyone to give me credit beyond what they see in my life and hear in my message, even though I have received such wonderful revelations from God. So to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment me, to keep me from being proud. There's a lot of theories on what the heck that is, whatever. So he says 3 times I begged to take away. He said each time the Lord said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. And he says, so now I am glad to boast about my weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses, in the insults, hardships, persecutions, and troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. We serve a God, we walk with a God that takes the worst moments of our lives and turns them around to show the rest of the world his glory and his love for us. Our failures are never the end. We can keep on failing as much as we want. We don't have to stop.
I think, is it Craig Rochelle that talks about too, like people admire your strengths, but they identify
They relate to your weaknesses.
They identify with your weaknesses. Bring us home, Jordan.
I will bring you home. I will.
That nat 20.
I'm gonna jump
Dungeon
off
Master.
of. I'm gonna segue from both of the fail things. So there is. I'm gonna explain how I met. This is my redeem. I'm gonna explain the story of how I met my D&D group.
Do it.
And it resulted from a period of my life that was riddled with failure and just failure of circumstances.
Did we all pick the same moment of the movie?
I didn't pick any moment of the movie.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going off of how I met my D&D group and highlighting the fact that there was failure.
Jordan's D&D group, you guys got it. You guys are awesome.
Yes, they do. And they know it.
You should buy our shirts.
Actually, I do want to, before I jump any more into this, I did want to say, if you want to, you can actually watch me and my group play D&D on Thursday nights. We play starting at about 7:30 or 8 Central, and we go for like 4 hours. So it's pretty hard to miss us if you are if you're interested at all. But Thursday nights, you can probably catch us there this Thursday. Whenever you're listening to this, there's a good chance that, and all you have to do is go to twitch.tv/Caleb M Powers, and I'll send a link so it can get linked in the show notes too. There you go. But let me talk about how I met my D&D group. I had just gotten done with, or I had just left one college and I was trying to go to another one. And in the process of going to that other college, I had saved a bunch of money over the summer working 2 jobs. I worked 70 hours a week. I'm not kidding. I worked 70 literal hours a week between 2 jobs to save up money to make this transition happen. I didn't have a vehicle. And at the time, I had $1,800 to my name to make this whole transition happen. I get down there, and financially it doesn't come through, and it still doesn't come through, and it still doesn't come through. And I spend all of that $1,800 in hotels for a week, and it never came. So I landed in where I am now. I'm in Kansas. I actually landed in Salina. And I was just defeated. I was done. I just had this huge sense of failure, and it felt like everything that I did it didn't matter. It, like there was no recovering from this. And to put it plainly, like I gave up on life. I became really suicidal, and I was already like wrestling with those thoughts throughout the year for other reasons. And I was in a really, really dark place. Fast forward a couple of months, and I started to get this thought like, oh man, it'd be really cool to play D&D again, because I'd played like once before. It would be cool to play D&D again and to really get into it. But I want to play with other believers. I want to play with some Christians. That would be awesome. Then there's a YouTube channel called Blimey Cow. And that YouTube channel has a Patreon and had a Patreon community. And I was a part of that community. And in that group, someone said, hey, we're gonna, if anybody's interested in doing a D&D campaign, we're going to be doing a couple different groups that are going to be trying to do this. So I'm like, this is like perfect timing. This is great. I've been wanting to do D&D. This group is like all homeschooled Christian people. It's like a bunch of Christian homeschoolers that are like, yeah, let's play D&D. Well, out of my group, I don't think, actually, I'm not sure if any of the people in my group were homeschooled or not. I don't think any of them were. So
Fake news.
Fake news, yeah. So I start playing D&D with this group, and they were like the light in the dark, because I didn't have friends at this point. Like I just legitimately, I didn't have any friends, especially when I moved to Salina, and like I didn't know anybody other than like my literal family that was here that I was living with. So I met this group, and I had this one time of the week where I knew that I could go and connect and hang out with these awesome people. And we just grew into really like know each other a lot better and better, and really care for each other. And they're like my best friends. They are my best friends. You guys are also my best friends. Don't worry. but
It's fine.
it was the two things that happened during that period that took suicide off the table for me was that group that gave me a point of joy and a point of belonging and love and community that I didn't have at that point. And the other thing was it was a rewiring of some theology that was really messing with me, but I won't get into that. But that group is a good part of the reason I'm still here today.
And we're so glad.
Yeah. That just kind of makes me think, maybe, I wonder if, and I don't think this would be a rule, like I think maybe it's like it works more often than not, but I wonder if oftentimes the opposite of depression isn't happiness, but connection.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah. With that D&D group, the one really interesting thing that happened with that whole scenario was that all of us had this sense of we wanted to be in a D&D group. We all wanted to play D&D, and we didn't realize it at the time, but we all needed each other, and like we all like specifically needed each other in each other's lives. And it was just this beautiful gift from God of this just beautiful friendship. And we've been playing for going on 7 years. Wow. Yeah, wow. 7 years going on 6 years in February.
Dude, Your D&D group is older than my wife and I's relationship. You're married to the campaign?
Well, this is our second campaign, actually.
Oh, never mind. That.
Let's not use the marriage metaphor for that one.
Marriage.
That's
great. Thanks for sharing that, my dude.
Yeah.
I think that about wraps up today.
Yeah.
So this is a fun movie to watch.
It is
I
a really good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. I wouldn't say I watched it and was like, I don't think this is going to win any awards because it wasn't like a critically acclaimed movie. So if you're more of like a Pinky Up kind of like watching a movie, it might not be the movie for you, but it was fun. It was fun and had a lot to think about and chew on, obviously, because that's what we done did.
We done talked about it for an hour.
We did it. We did that. If you want to watch this movie, it's on Amazon Prime right now. You can go check it out. And if you have your own thoughts about rejoicing or rejecting or redeeming in the movie, we'd love to hear it. So,
also, just let us know in our comments and our posts.
Yeah. So,
because we will be posting clips from this episode.
Yeah. Or tag us in something.
The fun ones and the serious ones.
Yep.
Let us know if you think we're filthy, wretched sinners for talking about D&D.
Or if you enjoy the fact that we can talk about this in a platform with a mindset focused on Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So again, check us out wherever we're at. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the other places.
All the things. Buy our shirts.
Yeah. So again, if you want to help us reach our 10 shirts in January goal, please click the link in the show notes to do that. Tell your friends.
Tell your enemies.
Spread the love. Jordan, you got something?
There's one more thing that I wanted to mention. So remember a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that my D&D group got me out to California?
Yeah.
The first time I watched the D&D movie was with my friend that I visited in California.
Nice.
When I was out there.
Wait, should we roll to see who gets to sign us off?
I mean, we can. Yeah. 8. Probably not going to be me. 13.
8. Yes.
Hey, guys, remember, God is always at work, especially in pop culture.
Yeah, 20 episodes. Here's the 20 more. We'll see you next time.